Hello and welcome to a brand new style of video where we take a look at widgets and UI design from other games and see if we can recreate it inside of Unreal 5. So today we're looking at Zelda Breath of the Wild, and in particular looking at these dialogue boxes they're using for their characters talking. And you've got a few things we want to take note of here. We've got a simple dark background with some little bit of artwork on the sides here. Obviously got the text that's got highlighted sections in different colors, and we've got the name of the character offset just over here. Okay, so something quite simple, but let's take a look and see if we can recreate it. So the first thing we're going to do in here is we're going to obviously start our creation of our widget, and I usually like to start off with just using layouts first of all, and then going in and adding in the images and fonts and so forth. So in here we're going to call this one W, and we'll call it dialog box. And this dialog box here is going to be quite simple. We're going to have a canvas panel. There we are. And inside this canvas panel, we're going to put in our little window at the bottom here for our dialog box. So that's going to be a border. And I'm using a border because I want to contain its contents inside something, but that something will have also a background and image itself that will have no really bearing on anything going on in it. Now, a shortcut to keep it in the center at the bottom here is by changing the anchors and choosing this one here. But if you hold down Shift and Control at the same time, it will snap it to the right alignment down here. And I'm going to change the size X and size Y over here. And the difference between doing it over here versus over here is that if I do it here, we lose that centering and have to recenter it, which is not the biggest problem in the world, but it saves a bit of time. If we just go into size X here, it auto centers it for us, because the alignment is set up correctly. So it's going to bring this in and try and use this guide roughly. There we are. Now in the original image, we can see here we've got it offset from the bottom here. So I want to make sure I replicate that too. So I'm going to just bring this up by changing the position Y to -100 to bring it up in the air a little bit. And I like usually to round these numbers off, so not just so random. So that's 795, let's round it to 800. And 194, we'll take it to 200. Oh, there we are. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so that's a good start. But what I'm going to do here is I'm now going to design and create the widget design for my background here. So in here, we need to have this sort of dark background with the images on either side. Now, there are a few things we could do. We can take it into Photoshop and design this ourselves, or we can try and replicate this here too. Now, we do have the option to have rounded corners and stuff like that in here, but as you can see from the original image, we have these fully round edges here. So it becomes a little bit trickier. So let's first of all try and design this shape inside of our Photoshop. Okay, so I'm in Photoshop now, and I've chosen a size of 512 by 512. Now, when designing anything inside Photoshop or GIMP or whatever software you're using, make sure you are sticking to a resolution that makes sense for the item you're making on the screen. Now, the dialog box is semi-big, so we want it to be a fairly decent size, but we don't want it to be too big, so we lose all that detail. So for this, I'm going to design the rough shape of this. Now, I'm going to make this a little bit easier for myself and actually design it as a circle shape. So if I go in here and choose my elliptical marquee tool, and I make a new layer, and hold down Alt and Shift, get the perfect circle, and put that in the center there. Okay, that's good. I like that. So let's now fill that in with our black, and I'm going to give this a bit of alpha on this too by going over to my layer panel and changing this opacity down to, let's say, 0.5. Oh, no, sorry, 50%, sorry, not 0.5. There we go. Okay, cool. But as we saw on the reference image, there was a little bit of artistic design over here on the sides too. And so let's try and recreate that design that they had there. Now, what I'm seeing there are two sort of curved lines. So what we'll do is we'll take in our shape here using the pen tool. And I'm just going to design it over here. I can reorientate it and all that as much as I want later. I'm not worried about that. I just want to get the right size in there. As much as I can. Okay. And it goes up like a little, like this. There. Okay. And it's like this sort of shape, but obviously a bit curved. So, oh, hello. Let's change it back to the path selection tool. Okay, so that's that done there. Let's just increase the size of this thing. Now hold down the Alt key here to keep it all in proportion. And I want to bend this around. So first of all, let's just rotate that around to the vertical position. And I want it to sort of follow the curvature of my circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Transform, Path, and let's warp it, okay? And I'm going to go to my warp up here, and I'll change this to arc. And I'm going to change the direction of the arc. Be that way. Okay, so now I'll bring that in a little bit and try and get the right size in there. Not too bad. Again, just messing about with the size to get it about right. Now this is centered obviously in the horizontal as we saw in the picture, so I'm going to keep it fairly the same. And we're just going to bring that up. So there we are. Okay, and that'll do. Obviously, we're not going to get 100% perfect exactly how we want it, but close enough. So I want this shape duplicated across. So we're going to duplicate this layer here, and I want to reflect it. So I'm going to go to Image, Transform Path, and flip in the vertical, and bring that down here. Okay. So these guys I want to be in the center of the screen first of all. Okay, center of our circle. So. And this one also center of circle. Okay, and in between them they have some sort of diamond shape. So we'll do a square and fill that in with black on a different layer. And notice I'm only doing one side at the moment because the other side is exactly the same, it's just mirrored. So if I get one side right, I can then just redo, duplicate the that same side over whatever I want. And hold down Shift now to get perfect 45-degree angle. There we are. And I'm going to place that into position that I want. Okay, so now I'm going to grab these shapes and offset them so they are just outside of our diamond shape. Perfect. Okay. So there is our design. It's not 100% perfect, but it'll do. So now I'm going to take these three shapes here and I'm going to rasterize these layers and merge them all together. So now they are one thing. And I can now duplicate that. Oh, let me do that. Duplicate layer. Okay, and let's move that over here. And I'm going to flip that in the horizontal. So we're going to go transform, flip horizontal. There we go. Okay, so we've got some design there. Obviously these are black, we don't want to be black, so we're going to take those and we are going to merge these again. And I'm going to go and add a blending option to this thing. And we're going to do a color overlay and change this to a normal overlay. And now I can change this to any color I like to get that same sort of design I have. Now they've got some sort of like grayish, yellowish color. So we're just going to do the exact same sort of thing there. There we are. And we click OK. Now what I have to do is to hide the background here because we don't want the background. And we want this also to be affected by the opacity. So this opacity will set to 50%. I want this to also have a 50% opacity. Okay. Okay, so there's our designs. So let's bring that now into our game engine. I'm going to save this as a copy, and I'm going to save it as a PNG. Check my desktop for now. PNG, and we put a dialog box, and now go back to Unreal, and let's bring that into here. Dialog box PNG. Okay, with it imported in, we're going to right click on it and create a material. And we're going to use this material as a UI material. So go into it and change from surface to user interface. And we'll just plug that back in there. Now we do need to also make this translucent. So let's go to translucent. And we can use the alpha of our translucency here into opacity. Try and save that. So we're then going to drag in our material onto our border. And the image here will be as such. Now what we can do here is change it so it will repeat parts of this image. So we'll stretch the middle part and stretch it out along the width here. Now if you go over to its draw as and change it from image to box, this allows you to do that. By typing in a margin, it will tell you how far you want to repeat. So if you change this to 0.5 in this particular case, you get a weird setup here. And the reason why it's gone like this is because of the image size is set to 32 by 32. If you change the image size here to match the minimum of the size X, size Y, so in other words 200, you can see a completely different result. And we hit compile. And now you can see where it's now scaled the image appropriately, and we've now got nice rounded edges with our artwork. Now it does matter that this is a material, so do make sure you are using a material and not a texture. It works a lot better with a material. Okay, so there we go. We've got our border set up. We're now going to fill up that border with the content that we have available to us. So we need to do a vertical box for this. In fact, actually, no, let's do an overlay. Let's do an overlay. That might be a bit better for this one. Because what we're trying to do here is we're going to put in the text that the person is speaking about, and obviously put in their name too. Now you notice here the gap from the top and the bottom here is the same. Therefore the name is having no impact on the padding going on here. So this indicates to me that it's more likely an overlay than any kind of vertical or horizontal padding going on here. So that's what we'll be using, is an overlay. But in that overlay, we're going to put in a text field. And we want our overlay to obviously be inside of our window here. So on the overlay selected, we're going to go to padding, and we're going to increase the padding here. We're going to start off with quite a high number. Let's start with, say, 30. And let's go a bit higher, 50. Too bad. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at top and bottoms, first and foremost. And then I'll bring in the sides to match where I want it to be. Now, our reference image here has a lot padding in on the left and right. So we're going to make sure we repeat that over here too. So I'm going to go to left padding, and I'll do 150 for this. And on the right padding, I'm going to do 150 for this as well. Bring that nicely in. Now this text is obviously way too big. They've got enough room for 3 lines, and obviously this looks like it can only fit maybe 2. And get that idea out, we'll just do 1, 2, 3. You see how it's kind of overflowing our border here. By the way, if you want to know how you do enters in here, that's new lines, just hold down Shift and push the Enter key, shift them down to the next line. So I want to make it a little bit smaller. So we go to our font, and let's change the size of this down to, say, 18, and that's looking a little bit better. That's there. Okay, so this will be our name and text here. So I'm going for demo purposes, just going to put in here the text that we've got inside of our reference image. So I'm going to do everything here is part of the specifically curated Clary collection. Please take your time looking around. Okay, so obviously it's going to overflow the line. What we want to do is go down to where it says auto wrap. You find wrapping, tick that, and it will sort that out for us. Okay, so far we can have a take a look at our reference image again. And we can see how the text here is pretty much on point, with what we've got in ours. So we've got to change here is the color, maybe a little bit of the font. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, let's take a look at the color. So let's go over to our color and opacity, and you can see it's a little bit of a yellowy hint. Only so slightly. Okay. When you found a color that you like, do make sure you just save it by dragging it up here to save that color for later use. We will be using it later. Now they do have an italic sort of slant to all our image here, to our font. So I'm going to change it from bold here to italic, and let's change it to bold italic by the looks of it. There we go. That's looking a lot more like what we're seeing here. Now in the game, this part would be editable, so I need to make sure I do give this a proper name. So I'm going to do txt underscore dialogue content, and tick is variable. So if I were to take this now into my game and edit it, I can make it work for any kind of content I want. So next we're going to do is we're going to have our name of our character appear here too. So let's make another text entry on our overlay, and I want to copy the font settings that we've got on our previous one over to our new one. So I'm going to go over here, go to font and copy, and then go back to our new one, font, paste. And this one is going to be the name of the character. So I'm going to change the color of it to match what we chose to save before. And we're going to change the render translation on this. We go to render transform, and here's your translation. And if I move this slider back here, I can reposition this text block wherever I wish, get it more accurate to what I and here. Okay, and this is going to have the name Harry on it. And I'm going to bring it up a little bit more, I think. There we go. And bring that in there. Perfect. Okay, so there we go. We've got the name of the character. Again, this will probably be variable. So txt name, and tick is variable. That will be changing throughout. Okay, so all we've got left to do, we'll go back to our reference image, is make it so that we can highlight the Clary collection here in this different color. And we're highlighting this bit here. So let's take a look at how we accomplish this. So the way we do that is with a rich text block. Now this one here is a normal text block. So if you have it selected and then select rich text block up here, you can right click on it and do replace with rich text block. And it's going to bring that in. Now all the content we just typed up is gone, but that's fine. We just type up again. And we actually might be easier if we go to undo and copy the content here. Copy. And then replace with, and in our rich text block here, put in text there. Now when I hit enter, you're going to see it looks kind of weird, and that's because we don't have a rich text style sheet attached to it, so we can't define its appearance. So on the text style sheet here, we're going to click on the thing here, and we're going to do create new data table, and we'll choose where we want to put it. We'll do rich text data table. And from the drop down, we choose the rich text style row. Okay. Open this up, and in here, we're going to add a new row and another new row. So the first new row is going to be default. And it's going to be the default style for all of our fonts. So when you go to our text style, and you see font is here. And I'm just going to copy the font name that we've got over here. We're just going to copy, copy, go back to our data table and paste that there. Then we've got color, which we've got saved, so it's easy peasy. And we're not worried about anything of the highlights or anything like that. We're not doing any of those in this case, so we can kind of leave this as is. But if you are using maybe a font material, you can also use that here too. But I don't think this one really has it. It's kind of a flat color. That's a default, and in this one we're going to name highlight. And again, we're going to just paste that font in here. and change the color of this to a light blue. That's kind of what they've got set up for their highlights. We'll go more like there. Okay, we'll drag that to the top here. Okay, that's our highlight done. Now to apply this to our text, well, if we compile this first of all, you'll see it fixes this. And also let's put the wrapping back on. No, it's not going to let me do it. Okay, let's put this back on there then. So let's do it manually. So auto wrap text. Oh no, there you go. It does work. Okay, so we need a clarity collection here to be highlighted. So on my text entry over here, you're going to put in a lower less than symbol, sorry, and we're going to type in the name of highlight, and then greater than symbol. And then the other side of the clarity collection, I'm going to put in less than / greater than. And when I hit enter, you can see it's now going to highlight that key part of information for the player. And I can hit compile and save that. So if I'm generating this content for the player and I want to highlight particular things, all I have to do is add this tag to the text, make it appear. Okay, and there is our Breath of the Wild style dialogue window. Now, if you've liked this piece of content and you want to see more widget designs from other games, please subscribe and please leave a comment below and like this video. If you like what I do and want to see more of my content, head over to patreon.com/RyanLaley, where my videos are available to everyone early from just $1 a month. Massive thank you to all my patrons and YouTube members for their continued support, and I really wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, so thank you again so much. Once again, if you like this content, please let us know, and I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone.